Welcome into 5 Wide Fantasy. Today we're looking at my favorite targets going in the double-digit rounds of your fantasy football draft. I'll have players both at the running back position, the quarterback position, the tight end position, and the wide receiver position. So a chance for us to talk a little bit more quarterback and tight end, which we haven't done in some recent videos. If you guys do enjoy today's video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Like the video if you enjoyed as well, and comment down below with some of your favorite sleepers. And as well, quick one for you guys, I would love to hear where you're drafting if you know what pick you have. I want to drop a mock draft later this week, so we'd love to hear where exactly you're picking so we can make sure you pick from all these different slots here and give you an idea of my favorite strategies to go with. Before we get to today's video, the video is brought to you by the Stunt. I got a video to check them out so you can hear what they are all about. Social media is such a crowded space these days. If you're looking for sports content on the latest news, advice, or hell, even entertainment, it can be cluttered by content you don't actually want to see. That's where the Stunt comes in. They've taken all the elements of your favorite social media apps, brought it to one place, and made it about the one thing we love most: sports. Stunt was founded by an ex-Google employee, so the design is eye-popping and the navigation is simple. Check out the latest takes, sparks, and live rooms from us and other content creators like Trey Wingo and Michael Irvin. Don't just follow sports. Be a part of the conversation. Download the Stunt app today. And again, guys, we'll be live this week, Friday, on the Stunt app for a live room, 4 o'clock Eastern time. We're going to be previewing the AFC and NFC South, talking about some of my favorite sleepers, breakouts, and busts, and as well just a preview on each of these divisions, where I think the standings go, and any bets we might look to make. Let's get into our 5 players for today. We'll be starting with 2 running backs. My first one is Raheem Mostert of the Miami Dolphins. He's currently going as the running back 48 in the middle parts of the 12th round right now. Last season, he finished as the running back 26, so had a pretty solid year, especially related to where he's being drafted last season, or even if he was drafted. Comes into a situation here that's really crowded. So I think that's obviously why we're seeing him going so late in drafts, and absolutely worth a flyer in my mind, which we'll get into. But Devon Achane is going ahead of him in fantasy football drafts right now in his current ADP, more than 2 rounds ahead as the RB 41. But I mean, we've been seeing some depth charts drop from a number of different teams so far, and obviously they're not, you know, very predictive of what to expect during the season. I saw Bijan as the RB3, Cordero Patterson as the RB1 in Atlanta. Now, I'm not going to read into these, but Achane's listed behind 4 guys, actually. He's behind like Salvon Ahmed and Myles Gaskin as well. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that's where Achane's going to slot in this room, but I do think when I've looked at practice and training camp reports and been paying attention there, it seems he's very clearly behind Mostert and Wilson on the depth chart. And I think that's not surprising. You know, we saw Isaiah Spiller come out of Texas A&M and expected to have a role with the Chargers. That didn't really materialize. And you look at his role for Achane, he's a fantastic pass catcher. He's blazing speed as well. He ran a 4.3 240, but he's a 5'9" back, 188 pounds. This isn't a guy scoring touchdowns. This isn't a 3-down back in this league, in my opinion. I think this is a guy that'll be type of gadget player that the Dolphins look to get the ball to in space and have great plays after the catch. I don't think he's going to be a between the tackles guy for this team. And where I see the value in this offense is, I think it's scoring touchdowns. You look at this team last season, they threw the ball in 62% of plays. That was 7th in the NFL. But they did score 12 rushing touchdowns. So I think they're going to throw the ball a ton to get down the field. And then the opportunity here for these running backs is going to be in the running game, inside the 20, in the red zone, inside the 5, converting over there, which we'll get a little bit more into. But Mostert did split these opportunities when it comes to inside the 5 with Jeff Wilson. And I think Mostert has a slight edge from what I've seen in training camp. He's the RB1, but also he had more yards after contact. He averaged 4.9 yards per carry compared to Wilson's 4.7. Now, Wilson did have a better stuff rate, and Wilson was a bit more used in San Francisco as the goal line guy, but they did split these opportunities. I think Mostert also has a bit of a receiving profile, which should help him here in this battle. And then you look at the 2 wide receivers here for Waddle and Hill. These are fantastic playmakers that can create explosive plays and still score touchdowns, but inside the red zone haven't been great threats. Neither one of these guys have double-digit touchdown seasons. They both ranked outside the top 40 in end zone targets. I think Hill only had 3 last season. Then you look at Mike Gesicki, who was a guy they used quite a bit in the red zone. He's gone. That leaves 5 touchdowns up for grabs in this offense. Where do those go to? Could they just go to Hill and Waddle? Perhaps, but they maybe more than likely could go to the rushing game here and go to a guy like Raheem Mostert. I think this is going to be offense that's going to score a lot of points, have a lot of opportunities to score. I think they'll be a top 10 scoring offense this season when you look at, Tua for a full season, hopefully, Tyreek, Waddle. I really like what this offense looks like heading into this season. Someone's going to take advantage. So in the later parts of my draft, I got to take a shot in this core of backs. I don't think it's going to be A-Chain. I don't think he'll be the guy to score touchdowns. And when you're competing with Waddle and Hill for receptions, I don't want a piece of that. I want either Mostert or Wilson. And right now, I think Mostert is the guy I would prefer to have. But honestly, either one of these guys, I think you should take a flyer on because I think this is going to be a good offense this season. Next up here, our second and final running back is Tyler Algier of the Atlanta Falcons. He's currently going as the RB44, going in the middle parts of the 11th round. He finished last season as the RB22, eclipsing 1,000 rushing yards, had a great year under this Falcons offense. And I know a lot of you guys, if you've been watching all of our videos, you saw me talk about Bijan Robinson just a couple videos ago about one of my favorite guys, my favorite guy to take in the first round. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be out on Tyler Algier. This Falcons team should probably run the ball. Last season, they ran the ball 559 times. About 100 of those attempts went to their quarterbacks between Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder. So to me, that means I don't expect this team to run the ball less. Quite frankly, I think they could run it more because last season they were a team that finished below 500. This season they have a very, very easy schedule, which I keep harping on, but I can't not mention when we're talking about these Falcons players. I think they'll run the ball at least 550 times. And then you have Desmond Ridder, who's a little bit less prone to running the football than Marcus Mariota. So I think we'll see at least 450 carries from Atlanta Falcons running backs this season. So that opens up some opportunity for, of course, Bijan Robinson, I think, potentially getting to that 300 carry mark, and that still leaves room for Algier to potentially chip in with at least, he had over 200 carries last year. He could still get close to that number. Even if he does, I still think Bijan could be a top 3 running back if Tyler Algier gets 170 carries. That's how much volume there is in this offense. And just in the volume of this offense alone, Tyler Algier returns on his ADP just by being a handcuff in this offense because of how good the rushing volume is. He's going as the RB44, right? Like that's a area in your draft in the 11th round where you're not risking missing out on much in this spot. There's a ton of guys that'll end up on the wire by, week 2. For Algier, he's a guy you're going to hang on to for the entirety of the season because of that handcuff value, but he's still going to get opportunities. Algier really made the most of his opportunities in 2022. He was very, very good, 4.9 yards per carry, which was 12th at the position. He was 6th in broken tackle rate. He was the 15th lowest stuff rate, so was definitely able to move the pile. And he was even able to create some big plays too, 16th in breakaway run rate at 6.2%. So really like what he did last season. And I think what his role is, because he only posted, I think, like 16 receptions last year, is going to be early downs. Like they're going to give Bijan third down. They're going to use him as the pass catcher because he's just much, much better in that area of the offense. So Algier's going to get opportunities on early downs to run the football. Like I said, he could easily get 100 carries in this offense, even with Bijan healthy for the entire year. But there also is the potential with him being the early down guy that they also use him in the red zone as well to score some touchdowns. But again, this is an offense that's going to have so much volume. Algier has so much value as a handcuff that I'm just shocked he's going this late. So I'm absolutely drafting him. Even if I have Bijan, I still would consider him as a handcuff. But if I have drafts where I miss out on Bijan, I'm going to grab Algier as the handcuff alone, but also because I know he's still going to see some volume. Heading to the tight end spot, we've got a player going outside of the 16th round. It is Hunter Henry of the New England Patriots. He's currently going as the tight end 25 at either the end of the 16th or early parts of the 17th round. So basically a freebie for you guys with your last pick. He finished last year as the tight end 21, was a really bad season in New England. Holy shit, this offense was terrible. And now we bring in Bill O'Brien, and things are going to change quite a bit offensively. If you pay attention to camp, if you pay attention to the offseason of what you should expect with this team, 2 tight end sets. Those are going to be happening a ton. They bring in Mike Gesicki as well to help them out in that area. But when you look at these percentages, last season was just 19.1%. You look at Bill O'Brien's last season calling plays in the NFL, it was over 32, almost 33%. So we're going to see an over 13% increase in 2 tight end sets. And again, that's almost 33% of the time. A third of the time, you're going to see 2 tight ends on the field. So that's a very good sign here for Hunter Henry in this offense. And when I look at all of the competition here, it's just mid mid and midder. It's Juju Smith-Schuster, Devontae Parker, Tyquan Thornton, who am I forgetting? Somebody else, Kendrick Bourne. There's not a lot of talent in this room and I do not have a lot of faith in these guys or anyone here proven to score touchdowns. Reports from camp have definitely been, well, I'll share some of these screenshots here from the articles I'm paying attention to. I'll be sharing that throughout the video, but Henry has already proven to be the number one guy in this offense when it comes to the tight end spot ahead of Mike Gesicki. Gesicki just hasn't seemed to pick things up on the offensive side with the playbook, with obviously a new team and a new coach, but everyone's dealing with a new coach. He's led the starters as well, Henry, which is very nice to see in receptions. He's been a go-to guy for Mac Jones in the red zone and in and around the end zone as well. And that's not shocking because he's one season removed from a 9-touchdown season. And this is one of the most surprising stats I found from the 2022 Patriots compared to the 2021 Patriots, okay? In 2021, they were 7th in red zone scoring percentage. So that's touchdowns that they scored on red zone opportunities. Last season, they were dead last. They were almost more than a 20% drop-off. They scored a touchdown on just 42% of their red zone trips, and I found the reason why. It's because they didn't use Hunter Henry in the red zone. He had 13 end zone targets in 2021. He scored 8 touchdowns on those 13 end zone targets. And then last season, he had 2 end zone targets. They only threw the ball to him twice inside the end zone. He didn't score any touchdowns. And this offense in the red zone was atrocious. The worst in the NFL, dead last. So I think the opportunity here for Henry is obvious. And I think the reason for the offense should be looking to get him the ball far more often in the end zone because he's one of the most productive guys in that area of the field. You don't see a lot of guys getting 13 end zone targets, turning them into 8 touchdowns. So Henry's a player that you're going to get absolutely for free. He's not a guy with an incredibly high ceiling, but if you're someone that wants to target, let's say, the quarterback position early, like I talked about with a Lamar Jackson or a Justin Herbert, I think you're likely to probably be looking to stay away from a lot of the tight ends. Like if I'm not getting one of those guys that I think can finish in the top 3, I'm really skeptical about taking a shot on anybody, and I'd much rather take a guy like Hunter Henry, who I think could score a ton of touchdowns and is proven to be a capable fantasy option in seasons past in the end of my draft, and pairing him with a guy like Sam Laporta, who I think has some upside in a Lions offense that has a lot of question marks and not a lot of secondary options behind him on our St. Brown. So he's one of those guys that I'm if I'm someone who didn't take tight end early, I'm grabbing 2 guys, and Hunter Henry's going to be one of those guys with my last pick in an offense I think is set to really improve when you look at how poor they were last season. So Hunter Henry's a great option for you as that sleeper tight end. All right, now we're moving to the quarterback spot, and I didn't even mention this off the top. We've got a great little what would I call this? I don't even know if I call this a Walmart level stack. This is probably like a Dollar Tree stack. And not a lot of people, if you're in a 1 quarterback league, will be looking to stack these 2 players. But if you're in a super flex league, I definitely love this. And if you're in a league where you missed out on quarterback early and you end up taking 2, this would be my second guy because this is the flyer you wanted. It is a rookie in CJ Stroud. He's currently going as the quarterback at 22 in the end of the 13th round. The 13-12 is where I have him at right now in ADP. I think much like Justin Fields, I'm not going to make this exact comp because these are not the same players, but much like Fields, Stroud got to work with the best receiving corps in college football. When you talk about Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison Jr., Jackson Smith and Jigba, this is an offense that gave him all the opportunity in the world to be successful. He put it together. He had back-to-back 40-plus touchdown seasons for the Buckeyes, had a terrific career there, stepping in after Justin Fields. But what I think, much like Fields, goes overlooked is that his legs could still be a factor here because he didn't need to use his legs while playing for this team because they had so much talent for him to get the ball to with Ryan Day as well. And his offense, they were able to create separation for these guys quite easily. Legs weren't really necessary, but he ran a 4.79 40, so nothing to the level of Justin Fields. I don't think his rushing ability is to the level of Justin Fields, but there's still mobility there that he can utilize. His performance against Georgia in the college football playoff in the semifinal there was one of those opportunities for him to really elevate his draft stock and to me prove that against the talent level that Georgia has as a team that's just stacked and littered with NFL talent, he put together a 23 for 34 game with 348 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also added another 34 yards on the ground. That doesn't seem like a big number, but college rules, when you're tracking stats, is sacks actually reduce your rushing output. So I don't know exactly what this number was purely on rushes like we would in the NFL, but he had a fantastic game there and proved that against a talent level like this, which is what he's going to get in the NFL, where the Texans are going to face a lot of teams that have a higher talent level, there's the potential here for him to use his legs and really add to his fantasy output. But what I like here is that I think there's enough here to protect for him, and I know the Texans have been a team that haven't protected necessarily all that great for guys like Davis Mills and the poor quarterbacks they've had in seasons past. Laramie Tunsil's still one of the best left tackles in the league. They add Shaq Mason to kind of beef things up on the interior, make them a little bit better there. Then you look at the matchups that Stroud will be running into this season, and it's pretty solid. It's a good opportunity here because the Texans have the 7th easiest strength of schedule this season. You look at the teams in their division, I think there's an opportunity to be successful. So I think Stroud has a great opportunity with this Texans team. He's going to be the starter in week 1. I know he's going to be playing here in the preseason game. They just announced that earlier today or earlier yesterday that he'll get the start in their first preseason game, so we'll get a great look at him. And reports of training camp have been fantastic so far. He's looked really, really good there. His rapport with a guy like Nico Collins has been great. He's still got another guy in Dalton Schultz to get the ball to. We have this 49ers scheme that I think will really, really help him and protect him as well when it comes to running the football to open up play action, open up opportunities for him to make plays. This is a guy that has great accuracy and being able to spread the ball out to all parts of the field and create plays with the deep ball. So I think Stroud's a player that could really go under the radar in a lot of your fantasy drafts because people look at the Texans as a team that absolutely stinks. I think the Texans have gotten a lot better and they finally have a little bit more competence because I think the last 2 years they've worked with some coaching staffs that I don't think were really ready to be head coaches at this level and build out a roster. I really love DeMeco Ryans. I love what he brings with him. And I think Stroud could be the best rookie quarterback of the bunch between him, Richardson, and Young when it comes to this season in the immediate. All right, I mentioned the Dollar Tree level stack. So we're going to another Texans player. We're going to the wide receiver spot with Nico Collins. He's currently going as the wide receiver 59 in the later part of the 13th round, actually going right around Stroud as well. So this would potentially be one of your, on the turn guys to grab both of these guys if you really wanted to. Last season, he finished as the wide receiver 78, was the wide receiver 53 in fantasy points per game. This Houston team was terrible from that passing perspective. Brandon Cooks was obviously there as well in front of him, but we saw before his Nico Collins injury, and I feel like he probably could have come back in the later part of the year, but the Texans obviously were looking for a number 1 pick. Didn't work out in that last game of the season, but he started to demand more of a target share and have a bigger impact from a fantasy perspective in this final 4 weeks that he played. He was the wide receiver 28. He managed 8.8 targets per game, so really started to evolve in this offense and become more than just a downfield option. And I think there's a couple things you'll really like here when you look at Collins last season and what he can do this season. He's got a great athletic profile. 6'4", had a speed score from Player Profile in the 90th percentile. He was the best contested catch guy in the NFL last season, just purely by the numbers. On contested catch situations, he caught 12 of 16. That's a 75% catch rate, which was number 1 in the NFL. So very, very good there. Then you go back to the quarterback play, with Davis Mills. He ranked 109th out of 110 players with at least 50 targets in passes that were deemed catchable. So only 65.1% of his passes were deemed catchable last season. The only guy worse was Kyle Pitts. So I do think that Collins will certainly benefit from this new quarterback, new scheme, because Bobby Slowick's offense, who's the former not offense coordinator, but former offensive assistant with the 49ers, will open up plenty of play action opportunities and be able to create plays downfield. And now we have a better quarterback to help him do so in CJ Stroud. So I think Collins will not only prove that he's a guy that isn't just, a straight line speed type of player and one to just make plays downfield. He'll be better doing that with a better quarterback, but he's really stuck out as the wide receiver 1 in this offense. And I'm not surprised to see that because you look at the competition for his opportunities. It's a guy like Robert Woods, who's reaching into his early 30s now, coming off the ACL tear. I don't think he's a player that will have an impact at the NFL level moving forward. We see John Mechie making his return. Noah Brown has been looked at as the wide receiver 3. Tank Dell as a rookie. I think Collins is a player that has really suffered from poor offensive play calling and poor quarterback play in his first 2 seasons. But if he gets into the right situation, which I think he is in now, he could really explode because he is a naturally really athletic, gifted player that can start to make plays and start to see more volume. Even if you look at last season, he was on pace to get to that 100 target mark if he played the entire season. Wasn't able to make it happen with the injury, but I think now this offense is really set to go. And with this schedule that they have that is going to be much easier for them, I really like what he's capable of, and I like these two as a potential stack, especially in my super flex leagues, but definitely ones I want to take a shot on late. All right, those are 5 of some of my favorite sleepers going in the double-digit rounds of your fantasy football drafts. Guys, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to let me know. Hit that subscribe button, get those post notifications on, and as well, Friday, 4 p.m. on the Stunt. The link is down below in the description. It'll be in the pinned comments. You guys join us there from 4 to 5 p.m. We'll be previewing the NFC South and the AFC South with some of my favorite busts, breakouts, sleepers, and obviously division predictions as well. So go check out the Stunt. Would really appreciate it if you go download the app there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.